Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is a regular meeting of the Manchester Springs City Council for June the 18th, 2023, and we'll start with Pledge of Allegiance. I'm sorry. To clarify, that's July the 18th, 2023. Okay. Would the city clerk please call roll, noting that Councilor Chandler has an excused absence.
City Council member is Judith Chandler, who is excused absent. John Shada. Julie Wolf. Here. Natalie Johnson.
Here.
You?
Could you hear me here?
Yes, thank you. Michelle Weatherholt.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Nancy Fortune. Present. And Mayor John Graham.
Present. Thank you. Okay, council, next item is approval of the agenda. I just got some information a few minutes ago that the item regarding the audit, which is that's business item I2, approval of the audited 2022 financials. The staff was double checking things this afternoon, and they found a couple of issues that need to be clarified before we consider that. So I think the appropriate thing to do would be to pull that item tonight. The unfortunate thing is we're on a deadline with the state, so we do need to get this approved by the end of the month. That would necessitate a meeting next week, which we'd normally have a work session. We don't really have any items, so I would thought we'd be able to take the night off, but that means we would have a meeting next week, a special meeting to approve the audit. That could take, it could be a relatively brief meeting. So I'll call that to your attention. I'd ask for a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of the audit item I2.
I so move.
Thank you.
I would like to pull one item from the agenda for discussion.
Okay, can we take care of the?
Yeah.
What were you thinking of the consent calendar?
No, the agenda.
The agenda, okay.
Oh, it is consent calendar.
Okay.
It's not, I'm sorry.
Let's go ahead and do the agenda and then we'll address the.
May I ask you
consent calendar
something
separate.
about the agenda though, Mayor?
Well, can we go ahead and handle it?
Oh.
Let's go ahead and get a second and discuss this. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, great. Second. Okay, let's have discussion. Julie?
Since you're pulling number 2 for the approval of the financials, wouldn't that affect also our first reading of the budget, number 3? Shouldn't we pull both so that they go together or no?
I don't think that's necessary because what we're doing is we're looking backwards at 2022 relative to the audit, and with the with the mid-year budget adjustment, we're talking about the present.
So it won't affect the budget?
No,
Okay,
it wouldn't. No.
thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, so we have a motion to approve the agenda with as published with the removal of item I2, the audit, the 2022 audit. Let's go ahead and vote.
And Councillor Johnson, if you'd like to let me know your vote. Okay, thank you.
Hi.
Thanks, Natalie.
6-0 in favor.
Okay, great. Thank you. And council, the consequence of that, as I mentioned earlier, is we will need to have a special meeting next week. That would be the only item on the agenda. So potentially it could be a quick meeting, and we'll look for a little direction from staff to see if we can just, we can do it as a Zoom meeting. My quick thought is that we can't, but we'll double check that. Denise, do you have comments?
No, I'll double check and let you know.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, that takes us to item E, public comment on non-agenda items. This is the time during the meeting when anyone in the public is welcome to speak to an item that is not already scheduled on the agenda. Okay, so I see we have one. Joan, if you'd come up, and Joan and Carl. Okay. Ron, we'll get to you next. Okay, Ron? Thank you. Okay. So if you'd give us your name and address, please.
Joan Stang, 204 Crystal Park Road.
And I should say, if you'd keep your comments to 3 minutes or less, I think you're pretty familiar with that. Thank you.
Certainly. In January this year, the Manitou Police held a traffic safety meeting with citizens from the Crystal Hills District. During that meeting, the police were asked to track aggressive driver complaints. On May 18th, I was buzzed by a motorist while cycling home and caught the incident on camera. I called the Manitou Police to report an aggressive driver when the incident occurred. An officer was dispatched to my home shortly after to view the footage. The officer who arrived at my home said that he could not find the statute for the 3 feet to pass law and aggressively questioned why I could not cite the statute since I was a share the road advocate. The officer also aggressively questioned the video footage and why I wasn't closer to the gutter. Both Carl, my husband, and I tried to explain that it is lawful for cyclists to take the lane when road conditions and safety dictate. On May 24th, I emailed you, Mayor Graham, and city council members a complaint about the aggressive treatment by the officer. I also filed a formal complaint on May 25th using the Manitou Police online portal per Chief Otto's request. I would now like to ask for the status of our May 25th request, which included the following. Request for the entire Manitou Police Department to take the League of American Bicyclists online bicycle-friendly driver training. Number 2, required reading of all officers to learn how to enforce the vulnerable road user and bicycle laws in Colorado as outlined by Colorado Bike Law. And number 3, request that the Manitou Police Department document, implement, and publish a standard operating procedure for dealing with any future vulnerable road user calls or complaints in the future in a professional and courteous manner. Please know that when an officer asks a citizen what the statute is for a law, and when our police officers do not equitably uphold the law for all road users, including people outside of cars, that concerns me greatly and makes me doubtful that they are equitably upholding the law. Thank you.
Thank you. Carl?
Carl Stang, 204 Crystal Park Road. So just following up on Joan's comment, for me, the larger question here is what kind of Manitou Springs do we want, right? Some days it feels like we're slipping into a bit of a version of Mel Gibson's Mad Max out there on the roadways. Why do pedestrians have to wave an orange flag to cross Manitou Avenue? Do we have an epidemic of pedestrians smashing into motorists? Why do we have to come and beg for the police to stand up and protect the vulnerable? Why are our neighbors afraid to ride and walk the streets of our fair city? Your choice of mobility does not define your value to society. No matter the mode, walking, transit, or rolling, we are all people trying to get from point A to point B, going to school, to work, to church, to play. And so responding to Joan's request is the first small step in restoring mobility dignity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Denise, were you able to make notes on that? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so that can be handled by staff at this point. All right, thank you. See, I know we have at least one other individual who'd like to speak to a non-agenda item. Ron, would this be a good time for you? Okay, so again, if you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less, and we typically don't answer back or engage in a dialogue, but if you have a request, we'll see what we can do. So we need your names and addresses, and then the floor is yours. Oh, wait, you need to have the microphone about 3 inches from your mouth and press the button in the center there. The green light should come on.
Ronald Allen.
Rebecca Allen, 107 Pawnee Avenue.
And well, the reason that we are here today is we're having a parking problem on Pawnee on the residential side of the street. And so we live right there, at Duco, Pawnee. And there's numerous times that we have to park our vehicle farther up the road, half a block or more, in order just to get our groceries brought down. I'm 70 years old, I got COPD, and it makes it tough. And so there's strangers, and then I think there's a lot of folks that work in Manitou that will park on Pawnee, and they're taking up residential parking. And so what we would like to see is resident only on that side of Pawnee.
And the reason we showed up is we were told by the parking director and the traffic guy, I'm not sure what his title is, that it would be on the agenda in a July meeting. So we thought it was on the agenda tonight.
No, it's not. I mean, and this was the first I've heard of it. Yeah, that's not to diminish the importance of this. We have a procedure for addressing these kinds of issues. So
What they asked us to do, we'll stop at this, but they asked us to get a letter from his doctor saying we needed a disabled spot, and we did that, and they came out and they said, we can't do it. We'd rather just zone it residential. There's a process, but we think we can just not do that and just go through council ourselves. This is what we are honestly being told. So we're just thinking it's on a meeting or something's going to come up, and we've been waiting a couple months now. So if they don't want to do that and it's a long process, we would like to request the handicap spot.
okay, so you filled out a form, right? So we have your contact information? Okay,
In May or April, maybe even, probably May.
okay, thank you. Because I would ask the city administrator to address your concerns. Okay,
Right.
so. All right, okay.
Thank you.
We'll see what,
I guess
Okay.
that's about it for us.
okay, all right, thanks. Do we have anyone else who'd like to speak to a non-agenda item tonight? And Judy, did we have any emails or anything on this? Okay, all right, well, let's go ahead and move on. Next item is the consent calendar. We have 6 items. Approval of the June 20th, 23 regular meeting minutes, approval of the July 11th, 2023 special session minutes, presentation of warrants, approval of Nancy Wilson's reappointment to the Manitou Arts, Culture and Heritage Board. 5th item is approval of the general services agreement with Greatland Concrete for the ADA and Drainage Improvement Project. And the 6th item is consent to accept public art donations. So Nancy, you've already expressed an interest in removing an item. What,
Yeah, I'd like to move that we approve the consent calendar with the exception of item F1. I'd like to discuss that a bit.
okay, so we have a motion to approve and accept the consent calendar as published with the removal of item F1, which would be discussed separately. Does anybody have anything else they want to take off to discuss separately? If not, okay, we have a second for that motion. Okay, seconded by Councilor Wolf. Let's go ahead and vote. Natalie, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you.
Six to zero in favor.
Okay, great. Thank you. So items F2 through 6 of the consent calendar are approved. We'll now discuss item F1, which is the approval of the June 2023 regular meeting minutes. Nancy, your concern?
Thank you. I had 2 or 3 concerns that I had communicated to the city clerk, and she went ahead and in your packet today made the changes, but want to ensure that the rest of council is good with the changes that were made based on my concerns. So the first is June 20th, last paragraph of the URA discussion. It said previously that Mayor Graham gave direction to Council Shada and City Finance Director to schedule a meeting. But now it also includes someone representing the URA based on our discussion that night.
Can you
Second,
tell us what page you're on, Nancy, please?
share page 5 of the minutes. And it's the 3rd paragraph down.
And can you tell us the other changes too?
Yes, sorry, I just was, the next one was on the first paragraph of the task force and working group meeting. Let me find that now. It's on, also on page 5. And it had, in the last paragraph of the very first paragraph, it had, therefore, the new chapter does this by confirming that these groups will need to be passed by resolution. Originally, it had said by ordinance from the city council. Okay, I'm sorry, it's page 6, my apologies. The first paragraph of the task force and working group meeting under hearings, H2.
Did you say the first paragraph of page 6, which starts with
No,
Rob
no, no.
Bannon?
The first paragraph of the task force and working group meeting. So it's at the very bottom of page 6 under H2. Page 6.
Are you in civic clerk?
So it's not page 6 of the packet, it's page 6 of the memo, just to clarify.
It's page 6 of the minutes, the January or the June 6th minutes, June 20th minutes.
I still don't see where you are. Can I come over?
Okay, yes,
Can you
certainly.
help me?
It's page 8 of the packet.
Okay. Sorry, so it says City Attorney Jeff Parker advised that the whole point of ordinance number 0823 is to clarify when a citizen group is an official party of the city. Therefore, the new chapter does this by confirming that these groups will need to be passed by resolution from the city council. Previously, it said passed by ordinance from the city council.
Was everyone ever able to find that in the minutes? Those places? Did you have anything else, Nancy?
You ready? Yeah, just, and then it was the same concern on page, the next page where it starts, the paragraph that starts with Nancy Wilson. The very last word of that paragraph also had originally said ordinance. It now says resolution. Ms. Wilson asked why it would behoove a group to come and get a resolution where previously I'd come and get an ordinance. And those are my concerns. And if everyone is okay with those changes, Judy is prepared to make any changes if they're not. But I would move that we approve these minutes with those changes made.
I'd second that and thinking back, it seems consistent with the meeting. I believe we actually had considered having Ann Nichols from the URA be that person. So that was a good correction. And then resolution is what Mr. Parker had indicated, not an ordinance. So those are constructive changes for accuracy. Okay. So let me put it this way. Is anyone opposed to those changes? Opposition. Okay, so Nancy Goldman, okay. Would you restate that as a motion again?
Yeah, I move to approve the June 20th minutes based with those changes that were addressed.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any further discussion? Let's go ahead and vote. Natalie, how do you vote?
Aye.
Six to zero in favor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we're done with the consent calendar. Move on to item G1 hearings. This is the second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 0923, an ordinance approving a lease purchase agreement with Clayton Holdings LLC We have Becca Davis, our finance director, to refresh our memories on this.
Good
Becca,
evening.
Good evening. Hi.
Becca Davis, Finance Director. So this lease purchase was approved at first reading on July 11th. And there is one change from this first reading, which is that the reference to an escrow account has been removed. Since this lease purchase is for only one item, the Vector truck, and it's ready to be purchased, so there's no need for an escrow account. And so I struck that language from the ordinance. And now I'll entertain questions.
We have any questions for Becca? It was pretty straightforward here. Okay. So seems that there being no questions, I'd like to go ahead to the public comment session for tonight. So this is a public hearing. We are passing an ordinance, so I will go ahead and open this to public comment. If there's anyone here that would like to speak to this, this would be a good opportunity. Anyone's invited to do so. Vector truck purchases are just not that exciting, so I guess I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, public comment period. Okay. Council, I think we can move into deliberation. Do we have any thoughts on this, or we can go right to a motion? Nancy?
I move to approve ordinance number 0923, an ordinance approving a lease purchase agreement with Clayton Holdings LLC on second reading.
I'll second that.
Motion to second. Any further discussion? Let's vote. Natalie, how do you vote?
Aye.
Six to zero in favor.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Becca. And next item is just, it's an update on recent activities of the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments and Pikes Peak Rural Transportation Authority. And last Wednesday was a meeting for both of those organizations. PPACG meets in the mornings and then PPRTA in the afternoon. So I'll just go through this quickly. There's, I told Denise that I could get this done in 45 minutes, and she encouraged me to do it in 2, so we'll see. Okay. Judy, could you put the slides up, please? Okay, so one of the main activities of PPACG is transportation. And just as a kind of a quick update to let you know, the PPACG is starting on a unified planning work program. This has to do with transportation at all levels in the Pikes Peak region. And actually the region is El Paso, Teller and Park counties. So this is something that's required by the federal government. It's critical for us getting grants and funding and so forth. As part of that, there's a long-range transportation plan and an active transportation and freight plan. And in many respects, this doesn't really affect the things that council typically focuses on. But I wanted to call this to your attention because there's a lot going on. And with Colorado Springs growing, there's going to be a lot more pressure on Highway 24. So this is something where the city could develop some long-term awareness of traffic patterns. Of Ute Pass, Highway 24, getting in and out of the west side of Colorado Springs. And then perhaps more importantly, something that needs to be addressed, I think, more vigorously is hazard planning, emergency planning. If we had to evacuate people, what would we do? And I think we're not, I think we could be far better prepared for that. And then to borrow from Alex Treefy, our PIO officer, if you're not at the table, you're probably on the menu. So in the months going forward, this is something we need to be attentive to, I think. I'll keep an eye on it and do what I can, but this may need a little more. I may need help from others. Next thing, Highway 24 updates. 2 things that impact us fairly heavily here. The Cliff Dwelling Road, there's a plan to force traffic that's leaving the cliff dwellings to do a right turn only. So traffic leaving the cliff dwellings would not be able to cross the highway and come down into Manitou, or to turn left and then proceed east on Highway 24. They'd have to go take a right, but they would be able to make a U-turn up at 24 in Cave of the Winds. So that would reduce some hazards. We've had some accidents up there, and you've probably seen people with their eyes bulging out of their heads when they try to negotiate that intersection. Ridge Road and Highway 24, as part of the CDOT's 10-year plan, they would like to do a grade separation with Highway 24 going over Ridge Road. That was a little bit controversy. I think there'll be some thought given to maybe putting Ridge Road over Highway 24. But right now it looks like 24 over Ridge Road. See, moving along. That's something I thought council might be interested in is that Mountain Metro is, they're studying, they've got hybrid electric buses now. They're beginning to collect data on that in terms of maintenance, performance, and that kind of thing. So they are breaking trail on that, and they'll collect information that might be useful to us and for our own uses in the future. Of course, we use them, so there's a pretty close alliance with them. Let's go on to the next thing. One of the other big thrusts that PBACG has is aging. So there's they do have an innovations in aging program. It's pretty, it seems to be pretty well organized. This may be something council would like to think about in the future. If you know of Manitou residents who would be interested in working on an innovations in aging and making Manitou more age friendly, we've got some contact information there. And then the last thing was the PPRTA business, which is a lot of that's figuring out which streets to pave throughout the region. But the things were critical. There was discussion of the City of Fountain's actions to join the PPRTA, and council, you're all familiar with this. We were briefed by Rick last week, Rick Sonnenberg from PPRTA, who's here with us tonight. And he'll be discussing this in a later agenda item. PPRTA, we approved the 2023 budget amendment, and this includes the $600,000 one-time lump sum allocation of City Manitou Springs. So we discussed that in some detail previously, but yeah, I wanted to let you know it was formalized last Wednesday. So the city is getting that. Actually, the amount is, there's a little more money too from a different source. Something that might be of interest too is the City of Colorado Springs piggybacks on CDOT contracts. Maybe this is something the city should think about doing. How they piggyback? Yeah, they'll, well, these are typically for construction projects. So if they can coordinate things so that there's a road that's basically in CDOT jurisdiction, they have a major project there and make some of the side roads or maybe Colorado Springs jurisdiction, they'll try to get them paved at the same time. It's my understanding, or get the concrete work done. So you get the wholesale price, if you will, the economy of scale. So that's a useful thing. Now I'm speaking at a high level, so the details would need to be worked out, but it might be something we'd want to look into in the future. So, okay, that's, any other questions? Okay, and thanks to PPRTA, we will use the $600,000 wisely. Okay, let's move on. Next item is the Save Our Carnegie campaign. We got a number of the people from the fundraising committee for the library. Craig Karnick is, I think, going to be the lead spokesman here tonight. So Craig, please come forward and bring us up to date.
Well, good evening. The first thing I'd like to do is introduce the other members of our committee who are here. Dan Stewart, Barbara Winter, the mayor is in attendance, and Denise. Another member who couldn't be here is our co-chair, Judy Karnick. She's unavailable. We also have a special member of the committee, Brooke Barnett, who will be introduced a little bit later. I appreciate the opportunity to bring everyone up to date. Hopefully you've already seen the large brochure that the committee produced and a companion smaller brochure. The smaller brochures are being used as a giveaway at public events, and we have a pretty good campaign to give away quite a number of those. The larger one is being used when we approach institutions and organizations who want a little more in-depth information. There have been a great many applications for grants already been submitted. Some of them have been successful. Some are still pending and need to be resubmitted. And we're just about now officially tonight kicking off the campaign, which means a lot of the committee members will be going out and soliciting personally with individuals and organizations we're familiar with. We're excited about what's going on. We've had a good response from a number of people and individuals. We do have a way for individuals to donate on a smaller scale. The QR code that's on all our literature allows individuals to tap right into the city donation site, which has made it very easy and eliminated a lot of the structural problems when you're using credit cards that we would have had to otherwise deal with. I don't have anything truly exciting at the moment to say, other than we are making progress and officially kicking off the campaign tonight. But I did want to take just a moment to introduce Barbara Winter. And Barbara Winter wants to introduce our special committee member. Barbara?
So, Mr. Mayor and council members, I'm very pleased to be a participant in our capital campaign committee. And we have a very interested party in our campaign, Miss Brooke Barnett, and she wanted to address the council this evening and make a few remarks, and she'll introduce herself and make a couple of comments.
My name is Brooke Barnett, and I am in fourth grade from Manitou Elementary. My dad, so I'm a second generation. My dad is student. My dad went to Manitou. Now he is a firefighter. Some things that I loved about the library was their story time, their crafts. I loved the gingerbread houses that they made. And these new improvements will help people in wheelchairs and senior citizens get around easier. Dyslexia was not helping me, and I was able to overcome it by this library helping me. It's a team effort to get everybody to donate. So I have my donation right here. So we should all donate.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was heartfelt. Greg, did you have additional comments or? Okay, very good. Thank you. Denise, do you have some additional?
Yeah, I'll
information for us?
just give a quick update of where we are with money that has been promised so far to the library. As you saw in the paper or in the documents, we have $1,994,385 in the account as of today. However, we have $2,431,385 that is committed to the library at this point. So we're a little over halfway there. We still need to talk to the Pikes Peak Library District and to the school district, or two people that we're looking at talking to in the near future, along with the capital campaign. We will be resubmitting the Colorado State Historic Grant. We came very close to receiving the $250,000, and we just need to make a few tweaks to that. So that will be submitted in October timeframe.
Great, thank you. So, any questions, Julie?
I was under the impression that Rob Dannon announced that this group was no longer. So maybe this is a new group? Is this one of those official, it sounds like city organizations that's subject to the open records and the sunshine law, I take it?
No, this is not. And just for a little backup information there, the the previous group was the Carnegie Library Task Force. Mary Pulvermacher was chair of that, and you might remember, I think it was in May, she came and basically closed out, did a presentation and closed out that organization. So they disbanded. And the fundraising effort that then kind of coalesced after that, this is just an informal group. They're not representing themselves really as part of the city. They're just, you might call them concerned citizens. So I think they've taken pretty diligent steps to just stay an independent group, and they have not sought any kind of official sanction from the city or resolution, like Jeff Parker suggested that we recognize any group that was going to be an official city agency to do that by resolution. So they've avoided that. So Denise, did you have a comment?
Yeah,
you
I was
wanted to make?
also going to state they haven't recommended, or they do not recommend any city spending. So for instance, the brochures and everything that you have received is all donations. So it has not been at all spent by the city.
I just have a suggestion in that case is that, and you could certainly double check it with Jeff Parker, but I think it's important that as the individual members in this group do their work and solicit to make it very clear, if there's anything in writing, to email or make it very clear that they're an independent, self-created committee and that they're not part of the city. That's my suggestion.
Okay, well, I believe they've heard the suggestion then, so we'll be taken under advisement. Great. Anything, Michelle?
My understanding is this last Friday, July 14th, there was a sunrise with the COG Railway, and they gave a certain percentage to the library. Do we know what percentage that is?
No, it's actually going to be this Friday, the 21st. And I remember when I heard about it, I was contacted by Ted Johnston from the COG, and I asked him what it would be, and he wasn't sure at that point. He said it would depend, they thought, on how many seats they sold. I've heard today they sold out the entire train. It's 263 passenger train. So, and the tickets are $99 a piece. So it seems like the library will do okay. Good question. Good question. And that was a nice gesture. That was something the COG Railway took on their own. And they're going to do several other similar sunrise trains, one to benefit the Mineral Springs, another for the school district. And I think the fourth recipient is going to be the fire department. So some nice fundraising things for the city or community groups. Do we have any questions for members of the fundraising committee? Any comments? Great. Well, thank you very much for your efforts. We appreciate it very much. I think we're excited to hear exciting news from you back probably in the near future. So great. And I think the hope is to break ground in October. You've polished up your shovel, Craig, is that true? Yes, we'll get it. We'll get the ground broken before the snow flies. That'd be good. Great. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And thank you, Allison. Good. Okay, let's go ahead and move along then. Next item is resolution number 1923, a resolution by the Manitou Springs City Council in favor of the City of Fountain's request to join the Pikes Peak Borough Transportation Authority. This was something that we talked about last week in detail during the work session. We did have Rick Sonnenberg here that evening, and he went over things with us. We had a couple of representatives from the City of Fountain as well who made their case. And tonight Rick is back. He also brought PPRTA's finance director, Lisa Corey. And we have Mayor Sharon Thompson of the City of Fountain. So we've got plenty of people to ask questions of. If we would like to. I think council, we had a pretty good opportunity to go over things last week. So I could maybe just kind of quickly go around the table and see if we have questions that we'd like to ask any of these folks. Or any questions? Okay, we don't. Okay. I'd ask Mayor Thompson if you'd like to make comments. This would be an opportunity. I don't know we necessarily have questions. When Councilwoman Duncan last week did, I think, make a pretty good, she gave us some important historical background, so it,
Yeah,
that was
I
helpful.
don't want to repeat what she said, but thank you so much for having us up here a couple of times and hopefully answering a lot of questions. And I'll just blatantly say vote yes, please. So,
Okay,
and I do have our city deputy manager, Todd Evans here with us also, if you have any questions that haven't been answered.
okay. And, okay, thank you, Sharon. And of course, we have Rick here and Lisa, if we have any questions. Looks like council, I think we're fairly comfortable. I will mention that the action at the board level, PPRTA, the board has been supportive of Fountain joining. We do think that there's a lot of synergy to be had in regional cooperation. Yeah, the roads between here and Fountain mean that people from Fountain can come to Manitou and spend money and have a good time, and we can use I-25 and get to Fountain and so forth. So it's a regional network. So I think that's a good point that was made last week. Council, if there are no further questions or deliberation, I guess it's time for a motion. So, Michelle?
I move that we pass resolution number 1923, a resolution by the Manitou Springs City Council in favor of the City of Fountain's request to join the Pikes Peak Rural Transportation Authority.
Second.
Okay, we have motion second. Any further discussion? Okay, let's vote. Natalie, how do you vote?
Aye.
Natalie votes in favor.
6-0 in favor.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. Very good. Okay. Rick, Lisa, Sharon, thanks for your time. Okay. Congratulations. Certainly. Mayor Pro Tem Fortune would like to make a comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to express again my appreciation to PPRTA staff and the board for the work they did on adjusting the capital improvement payments and looking in the future at how to fairly distribute funds. So I think that really solidified, as you can see tonight. I'm not sure that the vote would have been this way had that not happened. So thanks again.
Yes, thank you. Good point. Cheers. Thanks. See you on the highway. Okay, next item. I2. Oh, and then we took that off. That's the audited 2022 financials. And we're down to I3, first reading of ordinance number 1023, an ordinance amending the budget for fiscal year 2023. Becca, welcome back.
Good evening again. Becca Davis, Finance Director. So every year, City Council approves a mid-year budget, which includes expenditures that have been approved early in the year, but not yet appropriated. And this year's amended budget has a greater than normal increase for expenditures due to the February budget retreat, where council approved $3,295,000 in additional expenditures. So at this time, I have the ending fund balance for the general fund is anticipated to be higher due to department heads' frugal control of the spending. And also we had higher revenues over what was budgeted, most notably in the sales tax for 2022. Now for 2023, the revenues have also increased over what was budgeted. And that is due, I would have to say, mainly to the Jane's bequest of the sale of the Volmer land property, which totaled $851,293. So all of this together has made the general fund quite comfortable. So I always like to say that the most important page in a budget is the summary of the general fund. And in your packet, I believe it's 285. So, and then on that page, up at the top, it's all the revenues. And so there's the 2021 and 2022 actuals. Then the original budget and the amended budget. And with all the additional, and then below that is the expenditures. And with all the additional expenditures, we are still showing that we're going to have an ending unassigned fund balance of a little over 6,700,000. Of course, remember, we did get that large land purchase, land sale, excuse me. So altogether, oh, well, if you can see at the bottom box, there's a little quick abbreviation of the whole page. So if you just look at the bottom, you can see that also there. And altogether, I feel very comfortable offering this amended budget at this time. And we'll now entertain questions from City Council.
Okay, thank you. Council, questions? This, Becca, one thing, it was several weeks ago, we had it was a resident complaint, it was about potholes and so forth and streets up in it was the Midland neighborhood area. And I think as a consequence of that, staff looked at trying to break loose an additional $120,000 to catch up on some paving projects. Just wanted to double check on that.
Right, that was included. That's under the enterprise fund, the mobility and parking enterprise fund. So the expenditures in that fund are increased by that 120. And also it was increased by the outright purchase of several capital items, which before I had in the previous lease purchase. And then Judith, I was going to bring that as a resolution to spend that money as a lease purchase. And Judith came and talked to me during the break and said, why don't we just buy it outright if the mobility and parking enterprise fund is so comfortable? And it was, so at that point, we changed over from a lease purchase for those capital items to an outright purchase of them, which increased the expenses of that fund, but it can handle it.
Great, thank you. Julie?
So did I hear you say that the amount that we're going to be spending for 2023 on fixing roads is more than was originally anticipated? Is that what you just explained?
Right, it's 120,000 has been added to the mobility and parking enterprise fund, so it won't affect the general fund.
So PPRTA is paying for everything except for 120,000, and the 120,000 is coming from someplace not the general fund?
The 100, I can't say for certain that the PPRTA is paying for everything except for the 120. But we definitely have 120 in the mobility and parking enterprise fund.
And that's in the budget here?
Yes.
Can you just tell me which page that would be?
Well, it's way at the back because it's Fund 55. And it's page 46 of the budget. Unfortunately, I don't know what that page number is in your packet. I know it's the very last agenda item, so it should be way at the end.
Okay.
And it is, so it's page 47 is where the expenditures are. Excuse me. Where did it go? Denise told me not to hunt around in the budget in front of you. So I will find where I put it in and send it to you.
Yeah, that's fine,
Oh.
Becca. If it's easier just to send it to me, I just wanted to be able to be pretty specific about, I wanted
Right.
to be really clear on how
Oh.
much is actually being spent for paving and how much of that is from the PPRTA versus how much is from the mobility fund.
Okay, and I found it. It's page 49. It's the very last page of the document. I was accidentally looking on the wrong page. It's about almost halfway up. It's It's line number 55498,749 capital improvements other. And it's 120,000. That's where it is. So it's 55498,749. It's under the heading capital improvement and debt.
Cattle, am I on the very last page of the packet?
Oh, it's the last page of the budget. So that agenda.
Does anybody know where she is to help me? Because I'm not
Yeah,
following
you
her
can look at
all.
my screen. Let me bring my computer over. It's of the budget book, it's 49. That's page 2. Capital improvement.
Oh, that's,
That's for additional paving.
so is that what OT stands for, is additional paving?
Capital improvements other. So it ran out
And
of
where's
space.
the, where's the other than other? Where's the rest of the money for paving? Where do we find that?
Well, under the PPRTA fund,
What
Mm.
page?
which is per my table of contents. Is, looks like it's page 34
This
or
is so
33.
weird.
Look at- look.
I'm looking at the packet and this was
Yeah.
the very last page of the packet and it doesn't match your last page at all, so I don't get it.
This is the budget book. That's
Right,
Oh, I'm in the packet and you're in a budget book.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm in the budget book, which is.
in the
this
packet.
This, the civic clerk.
So
Well, the
it's-
posted packet, it's on page 213.
Thank you. So it's page 34 and it's 26499,456 is the first line where it says other funds, programs and capital, RTA maintenance expenditures. And I'm showing a budget of 370,921.
I'm sorry, can you say that number again, please?
$370,921.
And so it's that plus the 120?
Mm-hmm.
And how much did we get of that 370, what 921? How much of that is from PPRTA?
All that 370 is all from PPRTA. It's.
And the
this is-
921 also?
Yeah,
So-
three,
so
three
all
seven zero
PPRTA
nine two one.
money. Okay, and then
Yeah.
this other is from the, yeah. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you,
Okay,
yes.
sure.
thank you
Oh, yeah,
very much.
absolutely.
Thank you, Becca.
And I should have printed off the budget from the packet and then I would have had the packet numbers.
It's
So live and
okay.
learn.
You got me there. Thank you.
And Mayor, I'll just do an update as the June information that we got from PPRTA. That money is a little bit higher, which we will, of course, will amend at the end of the year because they always do an amended budget if the revenue comes in higher. So it's not much, but it's just a touch. It's about $372,921.
Okay, great, thank you. And I guess since we're talking paving, and I think, the intent is to try and get some deferred maintenance on our streets. That's good. And the problem that I've heard, in PPRTA and PPACG, Colorado Springs with their, I think it's their 2C plan, where they're trying to aggressively catch up on their street maintenance. It's really driven the demand for paving services up. So, we've got the money. That's good. Now we need to beg somebody to come over and do the paving, and there's a lot of competition for that. And the CDOT engineers, they lament this every time we have a meeting. They talk about, oh, it's hard to get bids in and get the work scheduled, but hey, at least we've beefed up our budget for this, so hopefully we can get some additional street work done. We had a 5-year paving plan, and I don't think anybody here would complain if our 5-year paving plan ended up being done in 4 years. I don't think our residents would. So, John, you have a comment?
Yeah, so in the packet on page 198, line 26,335,721 RTA maintenance allocation, I think Becca's talking about 370, 921 under the 2023 amended budget, correct? So I was just curious about the notation there, that essentially that's almost 20% lower than what we had originally budgeted for. And can you explain what happened there?
I was just using the numbers that the engineer gave me. So
Hmm.
the city engineer gave me these new numbers and that's what I put in. So
Okay.
I don't have that answer, but I can certainly get it
Okay.
for you.
So just as an observation, I'm looking all the way back in terms of in the sheet that you included for us, that we're it looks like our high point was back in 2021, where we were spending about $600,000 a year. And now we're, well under 400,000, right?
2021, I think, can we do some research on this and get back with you? Because I don't think we went, my understanding, and I don't want to, I think there were several years that nothing happened. And so then we were able to have quite a bit and did quite a bit of work. And that's why that year is so high, but we'll go back and do all the research and let you know exactly what was paved what year and what the expense was per year.
Well, it seems like to me, if we look at, according to the sheet that's in the packet, in 2020, we were 525. And in 2021, 590, in 2022, 450, 457,000 in round numbers. And so we're definitely on a downward slope here if we just look clear back to 2020.
Right. Yeah. What Denise is referring to is if we are allocated a certain amount of money and then don't spend it, it rolls over to the next year. And if we still don't spend it, it rolls over to the next year. So I do remember what she's talking about. There were a couple of years where very little was done. So we
So
ended up.
these are the allocations. So I guess what would be helpful is to have some highlighting in terms of what we actually spent for paving in those years.
No, this is actually what was spent.
That's what.
It was
okay.
artificially increased over our normal allocation amount because of these rollover amounts that didn't get spent in 2020 and then it looks like it did get spent in 2021. And then the number came down for 2022 to 459. So it was artificially increased over a couple of years due to the fact that very little was done. Say in 2019, probably during the pandemic, I'm betting we did very little.
Before I came on 18, I think 17, 18 and 19, there was a little done. And then we had quite a bit in 20 and
Build up.
21 too, because it rolled over, but we can get you that detail.
Sure thing.
May I ask a follow-up?
Sure, go ahead, Julie.
Okay, so now I'm confused. I thought I understood it. Now I don't. So you did or did not actually spend 525,000 in 2020?
In 2020, yes, what you're seeing there spent was spent. What I'm talking about previous years that don't show up on this agenda, the money wasn't spent. It doesn't go away. It just rolls over to the next year. And then if it's not spent that year, it gets rolled over. So it keeps building up higher and higher. And then we get these large amounts that we spend all at once that is higher than what our actual allocation for the year is.
I see. So we're talking 2019, 2018, 2017. We had budgeted amounts that weren't actually spent, and that's why we were able to afford as much as we did for the 2020 through 2022 years.
Right. It
Because
was
that
like
built
catch up. It was like catch up with our maintenance
Are
program.
we caught up now?
I have no idea. We can find that out for you. Excellent question.
We're never
Yeah.
caught up with our maintenance. It's a constant. You roll over and you continue to update roads. But I can give you quick numbers. For instance, in 2016, we rolled over 253,000. In 2017, we rolled over 246,000. So you can tell that there was budget carryover that rolled in. In 2022, we were allocated 426,000, but the first amount was 378. And then they did a additional allocation because revenue came in higher. So we've been in 2018, we received 297,325 for the initial allocation. 2019, we received 297,836. 2020, we received 305,281. 2021, we received 309,997. And 2022, we received 378,290. But then, as I mentioned, we had numerous years of rollover because it was not, they had not spent the funding, which is great for maintenance. You don't lose it. It's rolled over and it's held into your account.
And are those all monies that we got from PPRTA?
Yes, that's all PPRTA money.
Thank you.
Okay, so on the topic of the amended budget, any further comments or discussions tonight? So let's see, the business at hand is to get approval on first reading, and then in 2 weeks, we'll come back and visit this again. So if there is any further discussion, I would look for a motion to approve this.
I move approval.
Second.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I think one thing too, we've got Natalie is here, but it's more difficult for her to participate. And of course, Judith isn't here. So I think in a couple of weeks, I would anticipate a more robust discussion, with everybody here, and we can go over things in a little greater detail.
I have a question. though.
yeah.
Is there any chance we could approve this next week, since we're gonna have a special meeting anyway?
If council so chooses, you bet we could put it on the agenda and do both at the same time. It would be a very short meeting. Yeah.
If council has no objections, we'll go ahead and add that to the agenda for next week. Any objections? No?
For
Natalie?
second reading.
For second reading, yeah.
Now, that definitely does have to,
Sorry, tonight was first reading, and then,
so that definitely can't be done by Zoom. I know that.
yeah.
So, so I think that's important that we announce that the second reading of this ordinance, okay, will be at the certain date.
Right, we'd have to get that published this coming Friday.
Yeah. Does that give us enough time, Judy, for the publication for a second reading? Yeah, I don't know. Judy, does it give enough
Well,
time?
it's very tight. I mean, we would have to go back right after this meeting and get some of this up and published on the first reading, or first reading approval.
So we could wait till August.
I guess I'd feel better if we just waited. I
Yep,
don't think
sounds
it's
good.
gonna, it's not gonna hurt if we push this out. I mean, the schedule is, the existing schedule is August 1st, which is plenty of time for this. Our main concern is we'd like to get the audit done before, we need to get the audit done before the end of the month. So, okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve. Let's go ahead and vote. And Natalie, how do you vote?
Aye.
Natalie votes aye.
Six to zero in favor.
Great,
Thank
thank you. Okay, thank you, Becca. Guess that deserves a sigh of relief, huh? You've worked hard on that, and this is always a tricky thing, so thanks for the work you've done on that. It's takes a lot to make things appear seamless. Good. Okay, so we have gotten down to council correspondence. Anybody have anything? Nancy?
Excuse me. I've been just getting complaints about potholes on Crystal Hills Boulevard. So I'm encouraging folks who complain to put it on C-Click Fix, but I have a hard time convincing folks sometimes, especially in my neighborhood. But I will go around and input them myself if I need to.
Great. Thank you. Julie?
I don't know if this is just my impression, but it seems like the sign pollution in town is getting even worse. There are just so many signs. I just think it looks horrible. There are now 2 signs on Manitou Avenue as you're heading west by the marijuana stores. They're like maybe 10 or 12 feet apart, and they both say no U-turn on Crystal Hills. And then, of course, there's one on Crystal Hills. It's like, I know Nancy wanted turn signs, but really, I mean, they're right next to each other. And then all these signs that, like the sign when you're coming down is it Washington Avenue off the highway? And you're coming into Manitou and you're going down that really steep hill. And then there's a sign that says parking ahead. Like really, if I didn't have that sign, I might have just parked on the highway. It's a good thing I have that sign telling me that there's parking ahead somewhere in the city. The sign pollution seems to be getting worse instead of better. And I think it makes the city look junky. It's messy. And then it's also counterproductive because who's going to read a sign when there's a sign everywhere? So I would hope that something would be done about it. I know that Denise mentioned that Hannah was going to be spending money making the signs prettier so they look historic or something, but there's too many. I don't like it. And I've gotten complaints from only 2 people who were visiting in town recently, and they mentioned, wow, what's happened to Manitou with all the signs? So I don't have any resident local people complaining, but it's my observation. And I hope something can be done. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Michelle?
Early mornings on Ruxton, there's been some harassment of residents by homeless people. Thank you. Between the hours of 5 a.m. and 6 a.m.
Michelle, it would probably be helpful if those residents could report that to the police so that you get the information to them. So I don't know if they have already done that, fine. And if not, maybe when they contact you, you could encourage them to do that. So the police have something to go off of. Okay, good. All righty. Let's see, I guess I don't really have anything except, the COG train is going to be running a full 263 passenger train Friday morning, and some of the proceeds will go to the library. So that's, I guess I can't really encourage anybody to buy a ticket because they're sold out, but that's good news. So that's all I've got. Denise, do you have anything?
No, just a reminder that Friendship Day is coming up on the 29th. We'd love to see everybody there. That's going to be a fun-filled day. So that's a big meeting. And then City Hall is continuing to get completed. And we'll have our open house when we complete it and have a ribbon cutting ceremony. So we're hoping by the second week of August.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we will meet next week. Probably be a short meeting, and we just need to, I think staff needs to double check the auditor's work, I believe. So.
Yeah, and Judy, were you able to find that to see if we can do remote?
I'm narrowing in on it. Give me just another minute here.
Okay, if you could give us a minute, Mayor, just for
Okay,
1
sure.
second, we can
All right,
check
yeah.
and see to
Okay.
ensure. I was looking for the an ordinance that you just adopted and could not locate it. Mayor, how about if we just skip back with you, or did you find it?
So it was resolution 1323. So I don't know if you want to jump into that to see the part you're looking for here. Are we talking about the remote participation? It's applicable in non-emergency situations. Let's see. Applicable in emergency situations are hereby repealed and superseded by the following policy. So it sounds like so when they can participate in special meetings by phone or other electronic means.
Mayor, we'll just get back with you because as I'm reading this, it looks like it pertains only to a member, not to the meeting as a whole. So let us review it and we'll get back with you
Okay,
and let
yeah,
you know.
be better to have the right answer rather than a quick answer and have to change things. Okay. Let's see, Nancy, did you have something? Okay, great. Well, looks like we've cleared the agenda, so if anyone would like to make a motion to adjourn, this would be a good time to do it. Okay, we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, thank you very much. We're out of here before we have our first break.